Are the Atari Flashback consoles even worth it? Well, today we're going to do a full review of why you get in the box, how the hardware looks and feels, and what games are included. I'm going to go over some buying options, and with all the emulation options out there, is it even worth the purchase in the first place? Welcome to Batpixel, a brand new channel where we dive into the world of gaming. What a better way to start the channel than with the home console that started it all, the Atari 2600. Now, as you can see, this is the Gold Edition, which comes with 130 games. We're going to have a look at what's inside the box here. So inside you got the console itself, which looks like the original Atari 2600, except for that it has gold switches, and right here you have the Atari 50th logo. So I'll just show you the inside of the box. It comes with two controllers and two paddle controllers. One of the controllers actually has some buttons on the front of it for the menus. So you get two of these for paddle games on the Atari 2600. We'll go over that gameplay as well and how these feel, but they're basically just dials that you spin and there's a button on the side. It also comes with a HDMI cable. This version came with a North American style plug. It also comes with an instruction manual on how to use the system. Now let's talk about the box itself. How does it display? Because I know a lot of collectors like to put this on the shelf. The front looks beautiful. It has the console 50th anniversary, and this is reflective gold that you've probably seen already. If you wanted to, you could show the back with all the games that are included. I mean, on the sides it doesn't look very pretty. You know, it's pretty empty here. It just has a logo for the company that made it, At Games. If you were to lay it flat, that looks pretty good. Alright, let's talk about the hardware itself. So let's start with the console. It has a nice wood grain finish, and it even has the ridges like you'd remember. And the power switch, the left difficulty, right difficulty, game select and reset switches over here. They're gold plated to celebrate the 50th anniversary. So it has the old school controller ports, same as Sega Genesis actually. HDMI out and your power. So the console itself looks beautiful. I mean, it has the 50th anniversary on it. It looks amazing. But what about the controllers? How do they feel? That's pretty much the most important part, isn't it? Well, we'll go over how they feel, and we'll also test them out in gameplay as well. The controllers are the same as the old school Atari controllers. You just get a joystick and a button, basically. But what they've added here is a menu button, and you've got select and start and rewind. So you can rewind while you're playing if you mess up, which I probably wouldn't use. I mean, if I mess up, I mess up, but it might be worth playing around with if you're into that. These controller sticks actually feel looser than an original Atari controller. Even the earlier Flashback consoles, like say the second one or the third one, etc., they had a lot tighter joysticks. It'll feel a little looser, but how does that actually transition to the games themselves? It's also worth noting that player 1 says P1 on it. Both controllers have the gold color ring and Atari logos on them as well. And they have 4 rubber bottoms, so you can keep the controller on a surface and it won't slip around as much. Moving on to the paddle controllers, it's actually awesome that they included these because there's so many paddle games that's included. It's a lot better playing with these than the joysticks. These are the tennis style paddle controllers. I watched a video where the racing controllers don't work on these systems, and I don't have any to test myself. They actually feel really nice. I'm hoping it'll transition well into the game. So you might have to use this controller to move through the menus and then use one of these once you're in the paddle game. So with that, let's plug it in and see how it performs. The fun thing about the mini systems is they are replicas of the original consoles. You can see the Atari just looks awesome alongside my other minis. You can also see a size comparison in my hand here just to show that they don't take up very much space at all. It's worth mentioning that the controller cord is really short, similar to the original Nintendo mini system controllers. I wasn't able to reach my couch to sit back and relax, so I'll have to pick up a couple of controller cord extenders to make the Atari more reasonable to play. Here's the main menu. I'm just going to go through the games real quick so you can see what's included on here. You'll have to forgive me, I don't have a HDMI recorder yet, but the gameplay will look alright. You can see that some of the absolute best games for the Atari 2600 were included on this. There's also a paddle game sub-menu that isolates those games when you have the paddle controllers plugged in, so it's easier to navigate. In the settings menu, there's different backgrounds or bezels you can choose from. I usually keep mine on black, but there's 4 other options you can choose from. There's also save state management in the settings. There's an option to turn on or off the background music for the menus. Here's an example of the music. Each game has a description that pops up when you choose it from the menu, and I thought that was a nice touch. Within the game there's a menu that has save slots, resume game, quick game, and also a scan line filter you can turn on which has horizontal lines to look like an old school CRT TV. You can't really see it on this recording, but you get the idea. Alright, I'm going to go over some gameplay here. You're probably wondering, what did I think of the controllers? Well, I thought the feedback was perfect. I had a blast playing the games. I didn't have any issue whatsoever. The joysticks do feel cheap in your hands, and they are loose, but the feedback was perfect. You can see I'm playing Climber here, and I'm having no issue whatsoever. Burger Time's another one of those games that are really tricky because you gotta go vertical and horizontal in the right spots, but it was really smooth for me. I never had any issue. This was my first attempt playing Millipede, and I beat the first level on my first try. So I would say, if you don't like the controller feeling loose in your hands, then get an old one, but if you're worried about the feedback, I thought the feedback was just fine. Playing some of the old school classic games on this like Hero was just awesome. I had a really good time playing. And the controller didn't hinder me at all. I mean, I'm playing Pitfall here, and that's another important game where the controller has to be good, and it was easy. Games like River Raid were just really fun to play again, and it was just an absolute blast. They also look really good on a HD TV. The graphics are really sharp, and I don't really want to use the CRT scan lines because I find that actually takes away from the experience of putting it on a new TV. I want to show you the save state menu as well. So here I just saved it, and then when you go back in, there it is. So let's talk about those paddle controllers. My paddle controller actually lagged on the right side. I could actually feel it when I was spinning it. You can see I just died on the right side of Breakout. It was really disappointing. You can see I'm playing Pong or Video Olympics here. I'm on the right side, and anything on the middle or the bottom side of the screen was fine when the ball went there, but when the computer shot the ball towards the top, I couldn't quite get the paddle where I needed it to because I had that resistance and lag. In a game like Kaboom it was alright, but it still messed my gameplay up a bit. To get around this problem, you could invest in a pair of old paddle controllers that work well, but you really shouldn't have to. Also, when you back out of a paddle game, you can't get back to the main menu. You're kind of stuck in this sub-menu because the paddle controllers are plugged in, so you have to scroll through them this way. But you can reset it when you plug in the normal controller. So yeah, I gotta say, my experience with the paddle controllers was really disappointing, especially since they felt so good when I took them out of the box initially. I'm gonna contact AtGame to see what they can do for me. But it seems like I might have to track down an old school pair of paddle controllers from the original 2600 console and see if it works better, which really sucks. You can get a 50th anniversary edition with 110 games for cheaper. I created a graphic that compares the games from both versions of the console if you want to screenshot it. The list on the left is the 110 game version, and the list on the right is the 130 game version. The extra 20 games are highlighted in yellow. However, I'll isolate the extra games on the next slide so you can see them easier on the screen. The extra games are significant if you don't want to fuss over modding the mini console to add whatever games you like. If you decide on the 130 game version, you'll have some of the best games that ever came out for the Atari 2600 straight out of the box. During the making of this video, the 130 game version on Amazon seems to be low on stock, and the price is currently double what I paid for it. The shipping also says it's from Germany, so it must be sold out on Amazon in the United States. However, if you did purchase the console, it would hold its value over time, similar to the previous Atari Flashbacks and other mini consoles. It's also worth noting that if you bought it from another country, you might not get the right plug for the wall, so you'd have to get an adapter. And if you don't want to mess around with that, you could try other online sources such as eBay or try to pick it up locally. So what's the verdict? Is the Atari Flashback worth it? Well, the controller I thought was great. It was really responsive, even though it felt loose initially. The games responded to it really well, and I had a blast. Like I mentioned, the cord is a bit short. You might have to get extenders if you want to play on the couch. That's what I'm going to do so I can reach my couch. These controllers were terrible. I would have to either get these replaced by contacting At Games, which I will do, give you an update on, or just find an old pair of paddle controllers and they should work fine too. These are not worth it at all. This looks beautiful with my other mini consoles. I think it's perfect. Even with the 50th anniversary logo here and the gold plating, and all the games that are on here I think are great. Like, I don't really want the Frogger games and stuff like that they excluded. I think they excluded good ones. I'd rather play it on the arcade. So what you're really paying for by getting this version is the extra games that comes on the console. So you're probably thinking, is it hackable? All the rest from before were hackable, so it's just a matter of time. You will be able to hack this and put whatever games you want on it. So I would suggest buying this if you just don't want to fuss with hacking it at all. It's definitely worth it because these will go up in value. My mini consoles I have behind me, they also are worth way more than what I paid for them. I think your selling point should be, are you happy with the 130 games on this, or are there games missing where you'll end up just hacking it and emulating it? In that case, I would suggest getting the cheaper version that don't have the paddle controllers and they have 110 games. That way you'll get the controllers and the exact same console, you'll have less games on it, but then you can just hack it and put whatever games you want on it yourself, and then pick up some old paddle controller for cheap that work really well. Well, that ends this review. If you want to purchase this or the cheaper version, I have affiliated links in the description below. I'd also like to know, what games would you want to see on here? Maybe there's some hidden gems that I'm missing out on. I'd also really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content from us. And thanks again for tuning into the first video on this channel. I really appreciate it. Take care.